And we were hell-bent on saying we want Indian product only. And so we waited, we pushed them, we pushed the suppliers to help us develop that. India being such a huge, a highly populated and such a huge market, there will be 2-3 options. There just won't be just one. But when you sit across the table and then start talking, hey, no, we're looking at the components. They're not one. They absolutely, the body language. Oh, okay, components, not interested. Okay. And then the language changes that no, we don't do components. We do chargers. I think most of the women should be in the EV space. It's pretty exciting. It's the future of the country.
Good day, everyone. This is Maxson Lewis, and welcome to another episode of Max on Mobility. And today I have a friend of mine and a very interesting entrepreneur in the mobility space with me, Aneri. Aneri, welcome to Max on Mobility, and good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Maxson. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Really excited to chat with you here. Thank you.
So we are going to have a very free-flow conversation on a lot of things.
Sure.
Right? And for those of our audience who want to know, hey, who's this Aneri? So let's start off. So Aneri, I know you are a double entrepreneur. That's how I call you, or multiple, right? Not a double, triple, or
no,
how many enterprises do you run?
Well, it feels nice to hear this. Yeah, but it's mainly a double entrepreneurship.
Great.
To begin with. Yeah.
So tell me, Aneri, I mean, it's very, of course, it's rare. I'm happy that there are a lot of women entrepreneurs now coming through.
Yes.
And there are a couple of women entrepreneurs in the mobility space, or the clean mobility space coming through. And you're one of the few ones that I know. So tell me about your journey in the entrepreneurship world. Tell me about your background.
Sure. So earlier I was working with CRISIL, corporate space. And back in 2017, I joined my father's business. The name of the business is Power and Control. We're into manufacturing of those industrial plug sockets, wall and panel mounted receptacles. Just 2 years back, we also, in a partnership firm, we started the EV Miles. So wanted to be in the EV space. It's 2 years and we're growing. Life as an entrepreneur, Maxson, honestly, it's exciting, but it's also like a roller coaster ride. That's been the experience in last 5 years. Lots of ups and downs, highs and lows, but it's exciting because it's a lot of learning in the process, for sure. If, on a lighter note, if I have to say entrepreneurship, it's like it's being like a parent, in a casual way. If I have to say, it's like being slightly romantic and getting a child in the world. But at the same time, how these children are, they adapt to doing, jumping in the swimming pool on the deeper side of it, playing with matchboxes, etc. So it's learning.
Okay.
Everyday learning with trials and errors. Coming to the women's side of it, Power and Control, our principal business, it's very male dominating, business. So earlier on, it was very difficult on both the sides. Mm-hmm. But over a period of time, and once there is this compatibility with the client, build rapport relationship, it became much more easier to deal with. Now, with the principal business, it's doing well. People have also accepted, okay, there is a female entrepreneur there, and so it's nice. EV Miles, again, I feel it is slightly male dominant space, but because in EV Miles, we're mainly focusing on manufacturing of EV sockets, EV plugs and connectors, EV cables, EV portable chargers. So it's fun. And honestly, because our principal business, Power and Control, in industrial plugs and sockets, the funda was the same. The fundamental was the same. So it became easier to implement here in the EV space. So it's fun. It's fun.
It's fun, right? It's fun. I like the way you put it. But then I have a question. Yes. We'll come to Power and Control. We'll come to EV Miles.
Yes.
But let me first talk about the entrepreneurship journey.
Sure.
I would say you got the Power and Controls business as a kind of a family, business which came to you.
Yes.
EV Miles is a company which you built from scratch.
Absolutely, yes.
Which journey is interesting?
I would say EV miles.
EV miles?
Yes.
Okay.
Why? Because so this power and control business was founded by my father back in 1982. And it was a set business. So it was running on maybe a fourth gear or a fifth gear. So my work was to at least continue on that gear, if not get it up. But for EV miles, it was starting from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So, the sense of ownership, the sense of facing the challenges day in and day out, managing all areas of business, starting from setting the production to procuring things in the beginning, of course, it was a lot of learning. So here it was a ready-made piece which I had to learn, pick up, but here I had to build
from scratch.
Which
but
was really
I
interesting.
still wouldn't say ready-made there, because like you rightly said, right? I mean, I do not want to overstate the fact that to see a woman entrepreneur itself is a great thing. But then, like you rightly said, power and controls, it's electric, it's core engineering as we call it.
Yes.
And there to have someone like you walk in and how difficult was it for people to accept you as the entrepreneur to run the show? I mean, they would have traditionally been used to seeing your dad in that space. So can you, any instances, any interesting things that happened?
Yeah, it was difficult. It was not a piece of cake, honestly. I remember this one experience where in the beginning, while learning the traditional way of, what each and every component of our plugs and sockets is called, to learning how the production happens, to, engaging with the clients and building a relationship and rapport there. I had gone to this, so we are mainly connected with the shipping industry, and there was a breakdown, and I had to go and visit a, CFS, where there are all containers. It's a container yard, typical container yards, where a lot of workers are there. And well, you go to the office, you meet the gentleman, and then he leads you to the container yard where your panel is kept, and there is a problem, etc. So honestly, yes, I did feel out of space, because a lot of men around, and you walking in between that space, and then even that gentleman was not comfortable, because he always dealt with my father and the team, who's mainly all are men there. But gradually, you break the ice, and then when they listen to you, that okay, she understands the subject, she can give us a solution. Okay, that's where that ice breaks, and but it was challenging. It was difficult in both the ends to accept, as well as for me to get into that space. Yeah.
Correct. But how has it been now to do? Are you seeing it is the entrepreneurship journey in India is becoming a bit easier for women by any chance? Do you think that's...
See, I mean, I don't know. I don't have an answer, a yes or a no there, but people are accepting. People are, as compared to, back 15, 20, 25 years back, people are accepting that there are a lot of women entrepreneurs who are aspirational, who want to do, and then now there is no gender bias in certain areas. So certain areas I still experience, it is there, it's very heavy. Mm-hmm. Certain pockets, no. So it's easier than before, but still not so easy.
Then I want you to look at this camera, and what will be that one message you will give to the women entrepreneurs, especially in the mobility space? Is there something you would want to tell them?
Yes, I would say don't stop. Just keep moving. Just go on. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities. It's just that we need to break the ice. Just make it happen.
Good. So I think that's an amazing thing. I think the first barrier is within themselves rather than outside.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Good. So with that, Aneri, will move to something which is of immediate interest to a lot of our viewers, is EV miles and this journey in the electric vehicle space, and what you're trying to do there, or what you're trying to achieve there. So let's try and introduce EV miles. And you did talk about the fact that you're working on a couple of components. So from a consumer perspective, what does EV miles offer to a consumer? What is the service, product, or solution that is out there?
So EV miles is mainly Maxson. We're into manufacturing of EV sockets, EV plugs and connectors, EV cables, and portable charger.
Okay.
And the USP about EV miles is we are Make in India. We completely believe in Atmanirbhar Bharat policy. We completely support that. In fact, going back, even power and control, my father's USP was 100% Make in India.
Okay.
EV miles, it was, honestly, it took us 1 year to develop that connector, EV connector, mainly because...
1 year for only the connector?
Only the connector. Mainly because we were very, very stubborn to, and, including your granules, your nylon, we weren't getting the nylon granules easily in the market. They were saying we had to import. we approached a lot of big companies who make these polycarbonate granules, nylon granules, and they said, no, you will have to import. And we were like, we want your help to develop those granules. So each and every component, may that be the screw, may that be the cables outside layer, which is a TPE, TPU, it was a challenge to get in India. Again, that was to be imported. And we were hell-bent on saying we want Indian product only. And so we waited, we pushed them, we pushed the suppliers to help us develop that. So hence it took a year, but we're there, and we're proud to say that, our product is 100% make in India.
Aneri, I mean, this is one amazing thing that you were telling us. As compared to a lot of people I know in the EV space, just they use the excuse of not available in India to import it. And the stickers themselves of made in India are actually manufactured elsewhere.
Correct.
So if you're telling me that just the connectors itself is 100% made in India, all the way to the what do you say, granules level.
Yes.
I think this is something you should be talking about a lot more, and
Correct.
I think the audience also needs to appreciate the fact. But then I have a flip question to it.
Sure.
Manufacturing in India is always difficult. Right?
Yes.
And this is where I want to take the journey in the EV space, mobility space, around the manufacturing of components. So as compared to an importing of these, say, connectors versus manufacturing it in India, that too 100% made in India, what would you say, I mean, what do you think? How difficult was the challenge? I know it took time, but in terms of what are the other difficulties you found in getting this done?
Yeah. So first being the mindset. Okay. When we approached suppliers, big suppliers, I would not want to name anyone here, but they were like, it's easy, we can get it from here. Why do you want to manufacture it? So that changing the mindset, saying, no, I want it here, make in India. Because ultimately, we wanted our product USP to be 100% make in India, which includes these components, these raw materials,
Okay.
So the first challenge was changing the mindset. Once we crossed that, the second one was the quality. Okay. The finish that the imported stuff has to the finish that we can get. So again, there was a back and forth on that to achieve that finish. So that started with, the granules itself, the quality of the granules. Third being the cost. It's a cost-sensitive market, let's agree, face it. So achieving the cost and competing it with the imported players.
But right now, tell me then, let's take the last point first. Cost-wise, how are you equal to the Chinese imports? Expensive? How is it?
No, we can compete with them, Maxson.
You can compete with...
Yes, we can compete with the Chinese market.
So if, let's say, an OEM, let's say, I'm just using a name of Tata Motors in this case, would want to get connectors,
yes,
they can actually come to EV Miles and get it at the same cost and at the same quality as if they were to import?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And what about scalability? I mean, China, I think this is because this is becoming an interesting conversation.
Sure.
Please.
Yeah.
It started off as just entrepreneurship in the EV space, but then the manufacturing part of it.
Yeah.
And because it's very easy to talk about the OEMs. Many people talk about the vehicle manufacturing, etc. But all of that starts with the smallest of components.
Sure.
So let's take that. Did you find any support from the government of India or any other agency in India to make this a little bit easier for you? Was there anything that helped you in getting this manufacturing set up in India?
So, government of India, no, honestly, we've not really approached, or, we didn't have to reach. So, because Power and Control had that setup, it was slightly easier for EV Miles. However, between the two, we were contemplating, we wanted everything in-house. Okay, we were contemplating to have the injection molding machines also in-house.
Got it.
And then after a lot of thought process, my father believes in having everything in-house, but he comes from that 40-year-old thought process, but things were slightly easier, different.
Right.
Today, after a lot of discussion with many stakeholders in the company, we concluded that I think outsourcing a few things like molding part, you need not have an injection molding machine in-house. You need not have a fleet of 50 people really doing the molding work, etc. You can definitely outsource that and leave that headache there. In fact, Maxson, it's interesting, when we spoke to few OEMs or big players in the market, I thought they would say, no, we want everything in-house because of the quality standards, etc. But to our surprise, they were very positive to say, no problem, you can outsource. We would want to go and see that setup though.
Right.
So they were also open there.
And the fact that those setups are in India,
in your case. Absolutely.
that would have made it a lot
Absolutely,
more. The
absolutely.
conversation, at least the
Yes,
starting
absolutely.
conversation, would be a
Yes,
lot more easy.
and in fact, few OEMs just recently, just yesterday, I was speaking to one of the big player in the market about our connector, and he asked me this question in my 15 minutes of discussion with him. He asked me this question 3 times: Are you sure you are manufacturing the contact pins in India? Are you sure they are silver plated? Can you prove it to us? I mean, time and again, he touched that topic
So
somehow.
let me ask the same question, because typically, if I know the industry,
Yes.
my view is the connector pins actually are all imported, and all the plating they come plated and they just come in as subcomponents. So let me ask the same question to you: Are you sure that you are making those pins here in India, including the and you've been able to get the same quality output as that of an imported?
Absolutely, Maxson. Absolutely. I mean, and I told this gentleman that you most welcome. You will have to travel with us, but we can take you to the setup. And before appointing our two vendors for everything, we have asked our vendors that you will have to be open for us to get our clients, OEMs or big players in the market, to come and see your setup. They don't give orders without seeing the setup, the quality, and be ensuring that everything is made in India, and they're open to it.
But then starting is easy, Aneri. How about the kind of scale that our competing countries would have reached
Yes.
in EV batteries, EV components is a lot higher than what we can think of or even imagine here in India. But do you think this is something? How long are we before we catch up with those? And let's name them. The dragon in the room, in this case, is there. So
Yes, but so again, before we approaching the OEMs, big OEMs, we had gotten a fair idea from the OEM that we're looking at a scale of, let's say, 5,000 connectors a month, example. When we sat and did our homework back and again went to, because we are dependent on few vendors, right? When we went to them saying that, hey, we need this. And Maxson, you have to see the vendor setup also. We have chosen the vendors accordingly that they're not a small setup or a small team. They themselves are big. They have a setup of 50 to 80 employees there. They have machines, automized machines. They're not running on the old technology. They have the latest technology. And hence, we are confident that we'll be able to achieve it, deliver it.
awesome.
Here, today, in our setup, we need, assembling line to be really well set up. We're waiting for an OEM to give us a green signal, but we've done a background homework for that as well.
Awesome.
Once we get a green signal, we will be there, Maxson.
So then the question to you, I mean, you have an opportunity through this channel
Yes.
to reach out to the OEMs and put your ask, because there's one way you reach out individually, but here you have an opportunity. So to the OEMs to
Yes.
whom you are a potential service provider,
Yes.
what is the one or couple of asks that you would have on these OEMs? How can you reach out to them or through this channel? Anything that you want to tell them?
Yes, my ask for them will be, Maxson, give the startups the opportunity.
Okay.
Test us. Have the faith in us and support the Make in India, the Atmanirbhar Bharat policy that our government is looking for. Really support us. We will not let them down, for sure.
I think that's an ask to all the OEMs who are watching this channel or anyone from connected with these OEMs.
Yes.
Like Aneri said, I mean, they are confident that they are able to meet the quality, the scale, and the cost part of it.
Yeah.
So the question is about, are these OEMs ready to give an opportunity to
Yes, absolutely.
people like Aneri and EV Miles to at least at the component level to start off? I think that's something would be an outreach from on the back of this channel.
True.
Aneri, there was one interesting point about the Atmanirbhar Bharat and the fact that you're making components in India is safety.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about quality, we talked about cost, we talked about scale.
Yeah.
There's always this view, and this is a lot of people talk about in the EV industry fires.
Yes.
And fire hazards.
Yes.
So, what is your take on it, and how is EV Miles helping make this a bit more safer, the entire EV ecosystem?
Sure. So, those fire talks that were happening, everyone was saying that's mainly due to the battery, but sometimes it could be due to the connectors or the chargers. There can be sparks within that connector at the time of charging because of overheating. We were speaking to someone and they said, hey, we're going to be very careful with your product because we just recently experienced that the connector got so much overheated that it got melted. Mm-hmm. So they were very skeptical, and they would have grilled us for, 20, 25 minutes on the same thing. So, our contact pins to begin with, we ensure that they're not loose. Mainly the sparks or the short circuit happens because of the loose contact.
Okay, so let's for the viewers who do not really understand,
Yeah.
because what they see is the plug becoming hot.
Correct.
How? Just take us through step by step. What happens? What does it mean when the plug is hot?
Okay. So when the connector is being inserted in the car for charging, what happens is sometimes it's just loose. Okay, it's not gone in properly. So one has to put it properly. Second part, when there is a contact pins are holded by a contact holder inside. Okay, so the contact pin has to be very tightly
Mated with
fit in the connector. If they're loose there, then the male female, when they come into the contact, it may overheat and then there will be sparks.
Got it.
And that's
So essentially, it's a contactor to contact connection should be fit.
Fit very
Otherwise,
well.
there's an air gap. And,
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And so you are saying that, like, but most people miss EV fires are largely talked about connected to the batteries. And I mean, I did my assessment. I think close to around 40% of the fires were nothing to do with the battery. They were all connected to the charger side of things.
Right.
So, what precautions do you take? I mean, other than purely from a development perspective or manufacturing perspective to avoid that?
Correct. So one, the temperature that it can withstand, if it is defined in our standards that it is up to 80 degrees, example, we ensure that we tell our vendors it should go up to 140. Okay, that's one. The quality of the plating, that is very important.
Okay.
So the inside of the contact pin is coated with silver plating.
Oh, so these are silver.
It's a silver plated.
Okay.
And if the silver plating, if you want to save on, so a lot of people to save on cost because silver is expensive, their coating is thin. Okay, so that can also, so we ensure that we don't compromise on those things.
Okay.
Just to reduce the cost. So the quality of the contact pin is extremely important. Maxson, also, when you see our contact pin, you just take the contact pin in this side of your hand and, you know, someone else's, the imported contact pins on the other, and you will see the weight. Ours is slightly heavier.
Okay.
Heavier because the thickness is, you know, our outside contact pin is thicker and the plating is also slightly thicker. And you can feel the weight of it. So that's the quality.
So you can feel the quality.
You can feel the quality.
And that is made in India.
Yes, and that is made in India completely.
Wow. So tell me, Aneri, then who is competition for you? So what is the kind of competition? I mean, I do not want to overemphasize the woman part of it, but Indian entrepreneur with a very Atmanirbhar kind of products is component level. EV is competing with whom right now?
Okay, so China is one market which is in common, but another big brand is Mennekes from Germany. They are very old brand in the market. They've tied up with Tesla, I don't know, 15, 20, 25 years back when Tesla started their EV thing. So Mennekes is very old player in the market, very big player in the market, and they've been manufacturing for 15, 20 years now.
Right. So that's one.
Yes.
That's one. So I mean, let me re-emphasize that. So you're saying that we are competing. Mennekes is a German
brand.
So,
yes.
So we have an Indian brand here, right here in India.
Yes.
Which is EV Miles manufacturing components, which is competing with international.
Absolutely.
So then we are talking about a huge market, right? So how big is this market? Because this is not only from an EV Miles perspective, but for a lot of viewers out there who want to know how big is this entire EV ecosystem going to go?
See,
so any numbers?
Yeah. So I was just reading an article last week, and I was reading that how India market is. I'm focusing on the India market. While if it's the globe, numbers are huge. But if I just have to focus on how Indian market is developing, so it's 3 times of what every year. Is 3 times of what it really is. And we see, by 2030, almost 70-75% of your vehicles will be EV.
EVs.
I mean, that's sort of, today, we're also, when it comes to the chargers, today we don't have those charging infrastructure that much on the highways, etc. Because, that is how people are still skeptical to buy EV. So market is huge, numbers are huge. I myself have a Tata Nexon, Maxson, and when I'd gone to take the delivery of it, I myself saw some 78 deliveries happening the same day. It was some big auspicious day. But when you speak to the dealers there, they say our petrol diesel is not going, since they have those targets to sell the petrol diesel also, they say it's not going. So they were forcing us to, give us a reference for the petrol diesel. They say EV, we need not ask, it's going. It's just...
Oh, wow. That's, of course, Tata is kind of flexing the entire ecosystem into a very positive.
Yes.
But this is interesting to note that at dealerships they were looking for petrol and diesel
Yes,
buyers.
yes.
Aneri, this is one interesting fact, and we as Indians,
Yes.
there's a little bit of hesitance to pay for quality.
Yes.
So we always look at the Indian, we call it the jugaad factor. So people think of a 3-pin plug, we use that and charge our vehicles. What do you have? I mean, of course, it's possible, but what do you have a point of view on whether it's a good practice, not a good practice to use a 3-pin plug to charge your vehicle?
So, so honestly, 3-pin plug is a good way to charge. But we also have few, AC chargers which charge your car in like 4 to 5 hours. Coming back again, it's a very interesting question that Maxine, you've asked me this. So we were socializing, and there were 3 sets of generations sitting in the room: my father's generation, our generation, and the next generation to come in. And father's generation is okay to be slow, and no problem. 8 hours of charging, 3-pin is easier for them. They can relate to that rather than they can't relate to the connector. They find it slightly more complex. Our generation were talking about 4 to 5 hours is good enough. The new generation was talking about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So that sort of 3 sets of generation, 3 views. It was good for us because we are in that EV space, and we have 3 sets of customers right there.
Right there, and they give you different views on what they're expecting from the...
Exactly. So, coming back to your question, I think AC charging is good overall. And now that we have a lot of AC chargers which are not very slow, they're fast chargers as well, up to 22 kilowatt and charges in 4 to 5 hours. So,
I mean, there's a typical chicken and egg story. While you're not putting up infrastructure, you make the chargers. What is the bigger hindrance now, the chargers or the vehicles on the road? Do you have a view on that? Because the chicken and egg story has been going on since 2017, 2018, up till recent it was. But what's your take on it? Is it still there, that issue of chargers?
Yes, it is there for sure. The charging infrastructure still, you Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, you can see. But as soon as you leave those, urban cities and get onto rural places or roads, there is a challenge. Definitely, there is a challenge. In fact, there are power cuts as well. So, power supply is also an issue. When you talk to people outside of Mumbai, slightly, I have a lot of my cousins out of Gujarat. And when you speak to them and you say, hey, we have power cuts. What are you talking about? How can we have a EV charger? I mean, what happens then?
Correct.
So there are challenges. We need to really, meet those expectations, those user expectations. So it's a different story in Bombay, Delhi, and Bangalore, but different stories otherwise.
No, but I'm very happy, Aneri, you responded to that not as a founder of EV Miles, but as a EV user.
Yes.
Right? So,
yes.
I mean, that's many times what happens is we get too, we'll start falling in love with our concept and our idea, and hence we start to miss out on some of the real issues, challenges. So I'm very happy you brought that out. The fact that, yes, charging is still an issue.
Yes.
It's still an issue.
It is an issue. I mean, recent example, I traveled to Ratnagiri by road. It takes about 5 hours to reach where I wanted to be in Khed. And I was very conscious to see how many DC chargers can I find on that highway. I did not take the EV car that day because I wasn't sure. So I took my conventional vehicle. I only saw one DC charger. And that was a fag end of Ratnagiri, just before 20 minutes before I had to arrive at my destination. I took the effort. It was slightly detour, 1 kilometer detour, but I went there to see if it's functional. Okay, there is a DC charger, wow, but many a times they're not functional, and it wasn't functional, Maxson. So there are challenges. Honestly, there are challenges. Also, in these places like a Khed or a Ratnagiri, we just stopped to have a cup of tea. So I just asked him that, if I would have got my EV car, would you give me the charging. point? So they were, they didn't know the concept, etc. First thing that comes in my mind, कि हमारा charging है तो, पैसा लगेगा, मतलब उनका हो जाएगा. We offered them, but they're still not comfortable with the whole idea. So if you have a night over or a stop at a hotel or something, it's fine, you can charge. But when you have to come back to Bombay, I mean, in my one charge, I couldn't have come back. It was I think 189 kilometers from Bombay to Khed. So I wouldn't have.
So what you're giving is real life issues and challenges as an EV user, that, hey, listen, there's a lot more to be done in this setting up of the charging infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Which, I mean, as an individual, I mean, I've always taken a view that it will grow along with the ecosystem. But what you're saying is it needs to be a lot more faster.
Yes, much faster.
So what is the longest distance you've traveled with your EV? Let's
I've
go
gone
there.
up to Lonavala, to be honest with you.
To Bombay to
Bombay to
Lonavala and
Lonavala.
back. Oh,
Yes.
wow. But then how's this experience of using an EV? Okay, we are digressing beyond the fact that you are invested in the EV world purely from what do you say, the business that you own.
Yeah.
But as an EV user, what's been your experience?
Yeah. So honestly, Maxson, why EV miles and why EV car also? So as a person, forget from the business angle, but as a person, going cleaner and greener was always what I agreed to. And, in some form, giving back to Mother Earth, in some form, whatever little you could do. And hence, I wanted to be in the EV space and also, wanted to buy a EV car when I decided to change. The experience in the city is wow. Okay. It's flawless. I mean, I was last 14 years, I was driving diesel cars, all Hyundai, Santro, i20 and Creta. Last being Creta, the SUV, it was heavy, diesel car, heavy. The minute I shifted to the EV Nexon, पहले तो समझ में नहीं आया कि engine चालू है कि नहीं, because it was noiseless. 2-3 times I pressed, someone next to me was saying, "What are you doing? It's on." I'm like, okay, I have to get used to it, Then the feeling of not heavy, so light, noise free, and the pickup of it, and you can just, go anywhere very easily in Mumbai traffic, you can drive down. Beautiful experience, beautiful. And the latest Tata Nexon, I have a latest Tata Nexon. So the earlier version had some hiccups, but this guy is too good. I enjoy it. But in the city, I still don't have the guts, though being in the EV industry and that I understand the EV infrastructure, I still get scared to take it away, beyond 150, 200 kilometers. If I have to come back, if I have to halt somewhere, I've taken it. So I can charge overnight,
Right.
Yeah, but that's how it is.
Like we say at Maxson Mobility as a platform, we believe that it's also important to really talk about the challenges so that they can get addressed.
Absolutely.
And not really talk about the great things. So
Absolutely.
I'm very happy you picked up the point that, now this is interesting. You as an EV user and a person who's invested in the EV ecosystem, you still feel that there's a little bit more to be done before this.
A lot more, Maxson, in fact, I think a lot more.
A lot more.
A lot more.
Oh, that's important. But then, don't you get scared of alternate technologies? Let's say tomorrow hydrogen will just come and just swamp over, and what's your take? I have my response to it, but then it's always good to know from what you think.
So now I don't know if this response is coming from, convincing myself that no, EV will stay and hydrogen will not take over. But I feel that India being such a huge, a highly populated and such a huge market, there will be 2-3 options. There just won't be just one. That's the feeling I have, and whatever I've read about it, that it just one technology cannot support such a highly populated country. There will be a couple of them. In fact, even for the fuel to go, I feel it's not going to go in next 5 years for sure. I don't feel.
Okay.
It will take some more time. So it's going to be fuel, it's going to be EV, and maybe hydrogen in the future too. Yeah.
Right. And I also look at it that way, that it cannot be just a cut. It's not like a tap on and off.
Exactly.
It's going to be, it's a rolling flow. So you just need to allow the flow of these things.
Coming back, Maxson, while I'm talking to you, I remember one more thing. So one of my cousins, she shifted to a tall skyscraper building in South Bombay. She wanted to change her car, and I told her, why don't you look at EV, man? Because, it's a city drive for you and it saves a lot of money, convenient. She said, I would love to buy an EV, but the challenge is my parking is technically on the 8th floor, and the charging system that the builder has given is somewhere on the 1st floor or the 2nd floor. I said, but you can have your own AC charger in your parking slot. She said, no, the builder is not going to allow. Builder has said there will be one charger, fast charger, but it will be there. So it's inconvenient for me to every time go on the 1st floor. She said, I forget to charge my mobile. You're talking about the car.
Oh.
So, while we're talking, these are the challenges. And I was unhappy that, you're going to be staying in a building which is some 60, 65 story, and the builder is not thought about it.
Right. So I think that's one of the interesting pieces, Aneri, is not only as an entrepreneur in the EV space or a manufacturer in this case, but I think there's a lot of awareness related issue.
Yeah.
When many people are still taking a wait and watch, and there's also just because they're waiting because they don't know.
Exactly.
So I think it becomes incumbent on companies like us to start talking to them, educate them, especially one is the final consumer, but also the intermediate, in this case the builder who designs all of it.
Exactly.
So is there any initiative from your side you are taking care to build up the awareness in this space, etc.? Is there any program that you are running? Any initiatives?
No, honestly, not not full fledged, but yeah, in little bits and pieces while you're socializing, you end up talking, but not really,
Not really.
specifically.
But I think that would be something. I think the EV industry, it's not. We need to fight for all types. So
Yeah.
there's an entire build-up and awareness campaign that needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Now, this is where now comes to. I'm coming back to the power and controls.
Yeah.
And I believe the power and controls, from what I know of power and controls, you also provide DGs
Yes.
on rent,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
To large consumers, etc.
Absolutely.
Don't you feel that, okay, listen, here at one point in time I'm talking about the EV side, and there I'm still burning diesel fuel in my DGs. I mean, just this is a conundrum, so I'm just trying to evince a reaction from you. So what do you feel about this?
Yeah, it's interesting. So our experience, Maxson, honestly, so my dad's principal business when he started this was into assembling of DG sets and giving it on hiring. Okay, that was his main business. From then to now, the demand is very low.
Mhm.
Okay, because lot of, like I said, we cater to shipping industry. So the CFS, the terminals where there is no power, they rely on the DG sets. Over a period of time, they've also had solar panels.
Mhm.
And they generate energy from that and give the power to the containers. So it's the demand has become very, very less. I would say if my dad that time had to give 1,000 DG sets on hire a month during the peak times, during the summers, today we are talking about 10.
So that's the scale of reduction.
Yes.
Or I would say the demand is transferring to a different alternate source rather than of a reduction.
Absolutely.
Right.
And those days, there was a huge power crisis as well. Today, government has worked on it, and at least in cities like Bombay and Navi Mumbai, we don't face so much of power cuts. So that also has gradually.
That brings me to another interesting, segue to this conversation is the shipping industry by itself. Typically EVs are only, we think of EVs when they are on the roads, 4 wheels, 2 wheels, 3 wheels on the road.
Yeah.
No wheels on the seas. So, are you hearing of any conversations? Because that's also mobility, right?
Yeah.
Are you hearing any conversations, whispers of what's happening in the shipping lines around the electrification of ships, etc.?
No, honestly, no, nothing much there. But on the terminal side, etc., they're converting the energy. I mean, they're using the solar energy for the power, etc., but not on the ships. No,
not on the ships.
No.
Right. So, Aneri, we talked about safety. We talked about scale. We talked about the awareness. We talked about a lots to be done in this space.
Yes.
There's one interesting topic I always thought is standardization and certification.
Yeah.
That's one topic people, especially in India, are a bit conscious not to talk about.
Yes.
So let's take it one by one. So standardization. So many people think in the EV space, they don't know which connector to use, etc. So that scare was there, or is it still there? What's your take from a component manufacturer perspective?
So, Maxson, when we started back in 2022, yes, we were slightly skeptical. We weren't sure because they were still, talking about CHAdeMO, GBT, Type 2, CCS2. They were talking about variety. And no one was sure. Even when we went to, and those days, of course, we didn't approach the the OEMs, but we went to the charging manufacturer setup. And they said, we're not sure. Yeah, we're going by this, but we're not sure if government may change. So in our manufacturing of EV components, Maxson, the molds that we make are the most expensive affair, right? So once it's done, you have to scrape it and make a new one. So yes, that fear was there back there. But today, I think that's not a challenge anymore. We're sure that for the DC chargers, the CCS2, and for the AC chargers, it's the Type 2. So we are pretty comfortable in that space, and I think we don't see, with whatever we read or hear or talk to many people in this space, this will remain.
Oh, so that talk of which charger, which protocol is behind us, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, that's so then that just increases the confidence of people like you, who then you can invest more in R&D and improving the technology rather than to be de-risking yourself on which protocol.
Absolutely.
But there's this one interesting thing about certification. Let's talk about this. So, because everyone and anyone in the EV space, any component, charger, OEM, there's either a lack or a fear of a certification or such kind of uncertainty. What has been your experience in that space?
So,
And you can be as candid as possible.
yes. So honestly, Maxson, it was a nightmare. Okay, it was a nightmare. So it took us 1 year to get everything together and manufacture the product because we wanted to be 100% make in India. Then came the certification part. We approached the private labs who were into EV charging, certifying the EV chargers, etc. When you go as EV miles, they think you are another EV charging manufacturer setup. But when you sit across the table and then start talking, hey, no, we're looking at the components. They're not, they absolutely, the body language, oh, okay, components, not interested. Okay. And then the language changes that, no, we don't do components, we do chargers. Okay. So, and for the chargers, there's this ARAI certification that is required. For the components, we are focusing on one standard, which is IEC 62196. It's also a good lengthy check process, but it was definitely a nightmare. We went door to door to private laboratories, and they wouldn't just say no, but they say, okay, we'll talk with our team and we'll give you the quotation, etc. It took months. Finally, we decided, so coming back to the power and control products, we've always, those products are graded as under IP 67.
Okay.
And those testing happens in the MSME Government of India lab. So we decided that, okay, let's approach the government laboratory. And there, thankfully, lucky enough, they had not done it, but they were open to saying, give us the booklet, the standard of what needs to be tested. Let us go through. If we can do it, we will do it for you. And that's how they ended up doing. They didn't have certain infrastructure, like they didn't have certain jigs to test our product, but we helped them make those jigs.
Okay.
It took 3 months for the certification, but we were there. But yes, it was a challenge, and it's also a very expensive affair, Maxson. Okay. I mean, I was surprised, honestly, I was surprised when I heard the quotes from the private laboratories about finally someone said, oh, we'll do it, but it's going to be, and lakhs of rupees, this lakhs of rupees. I was taken aback because my one mold, it was a price of my one mold. It's not sustainable.
Got it.
It's not.
So are you saying that, and this is, Aneri, thanks for bringing this up. For many people, it's what they see as they receive as a product, which is the vehicle or the charger. But many times, many people miss the component level. And especially if India as a nation wants to focus on Atmanirbhar,
yes,
the vehicle level Atmanirbharta is dependent upon how much it is at a localization of component level.
Absolutely.
And what you're saying, if there is a challenge in the certification at a component level, effectively it's a challenge at a product level as well.
Absolutely.
So I think you should look at addressing the people who are watching this. And I would want to ask you to say, what is it or what is it that you would expect out of the certification agencies or government representative bodies to help companies like you make it easier for companies like you? Yeah. So anything?
Yeah. So my ask to all the big private laboratories would be, just don't focus on the big chargers, and it's a big ticket item for them. Also, give us the room. The startups like EV Miles and where we're manufacturing our components, give us also the room, because it's not, if charger certification it's a big one, it's a big thing, a lot of components, a lot of things. Component certification is very little, a tiny subject within that. Why wouldn't you be interested? Why wouldn't you support us?
No, in fact, I would put it other way. If they don't support component manufacture, the charger level certification itself is kind of an issue. So I think this is one straight ask that on this platform that you've put up, is certification is a challenge.
Yeah, and honestly, I think again we did some brainstorming on this as to why something like this, because today majority of the components are imported, Maxson, which comes with the certification. Today we were the first ones to have started developing the components which are made in India. And I think because it was too new, we faced that challenge. I just hope the others don't face that.
No, that's a very right thing to say, Aneri. And if we don't support pioneers like you, then unfortunately, then we are not really living up to the Atmanirbhar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
theme.
Yes, absolutely.
So good. So we went around a lot of things, and now I want to come back to one important aspect of the entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And again, the woman entrepreneur in you in the mobility space. right? Typically, mobility was always a space where women were not seen in the entrepreneurship.
Sure.
There are a lot of potential women entrepreneurs who are listening to you right now, and
Yes.
they would be wanting to know, they would be looking at you as an inspiration, really speaking. So, to those women entrepreneurs, especially in the mobility space, and let's make it very specific, in the EV charger or the OEM space, any points of guidance, anything that you would want to offer out to them, other than the fact that you told them to start off?
Yeah.
Anything else that you would want to lay out for them on the?
See, I feel, Maxson, it's the same thing. The mindset, breaking your mindset, breaking the ice, and just getting into that space. I personally feel so. Like I said, I came from a software background. I have a corporate experience. I didn't have this engineering background, and being on the production floor and stuff like that. But the subject is not very tough. It's learnable, doable. Once you're there, in between that team, just that you just have to have that mindset, and it's easy to be in that space. And I think most of the women should be in the EV space. It's pretty exciting. It's the future of the country. That's
great. With that, Aneri, first of all, someone, a non-engineer, if I would, like you rightly said, a woman in this space, an entrepreneur, and in the mobility space, and in manufacturing.
Yes.
I mean, you are breaking a lot of glass ceilings out here. You realize that, right?
Thank you.
But Aneri, continue to do what you're doing. You're doing a brilliant job.
Thank you,
and
Maxson.
I wish you are inspiration to a lot more Aneris out there who want to get into this space.
Thank you.
With that, I thank you for coming on to this show, and to the audience out there who are listening to us. This is another case of someone moving from a traditional business into the new age business and successfully doing so. And with that, I thank all of you. Thank you, Aneri. And till the next time when we catch up, this is Maxson Lewis signing off from Maxson Mobility. Thank you.
Maxson.